The Northern Elders Forum has again dismissed the call by the Southern Governors Forum that the next Nigerian president must come from the South. A spokesperson, Dr. Hakeem Baba-Ahmed, said at the weekend in Kaduna that the North was not for sale, no matter the pressure or antics from the Southern governors to zone the presidency to the South. Describing the North as proud, he urged youths in the region to be active in politics and not to accept second-class status. According to him, irrespective of the South, the North will retain the presidency in 2023 if the region's numerical strength is factored into the game. But in a swift riposte on Monday, the Southern and Middle Belt Alliance, SaMBA, rejected Baba-Ahmed's claim, saying it was reckless and careless. SaMBA, in a statement by his spokesperson, Pam Jnr., reminded the Northern Elders Forum that without the Middle Belt, the North would not be able to boast of its numerical strength. In addition, elder statesman and leader of the Pan-Niger Delta Forum, Edwin Clark, has also faulted the premise of Baba-Ahmed's claim of the North's right to inherited leadership in Nigeria.
To issue such insults on people in this country, I have very high regard for him. The last meeting I attended with him was a Transcorp hearing summoned by former President Olusegun Obasanjo. And we attended the meeting together. But for him to be talking about population leadership of whom? Perhaps he had forgotten that we have existed in this country before 1914. We never depended upon the population of the North, nor do they depend upon the resources of the South. But having come together, we need each other, one another. For someone to claim leadership over others, he doesn't want to become second-class citizen in this country. Who doesn't want to be the second-class citizen? That is why we are saying that for people like Ahmed to say that they don't understand what restructuring is wicked and mischievous. We have to return to what Nigeria was in 1963, when all the leaders, the Tafawa Balewa, the Awolowo, the Azikiwe, everybody met to work out a constitution that will make every Nigerian equal, where you can develop your region at your own pace. If there have been leaders, as he claimed, what have they done for his people? What has that leadership done for the Northerners? Where most of the children are today, margarines. Today, there are people waging war against their people for keeping them in darkness. No water, nothing, no food for them to eat. They don't go to school. It was President Jonathan who tried to establish good schools, modern schools for them. They're margarine schools. But they're all dead now. But they want to see governors from the North masquerading themselves everywhere, showing power. What have they done for their people? How many of them saying they are sad to see the suffering of their people? Who are you leading? What are the leadership produced for you? It's a shame. We need one another in this country, my daughter. We have to live together. If Mohammed...
Now joining us from Kaduna to explain why the Northern Elders Forum still believes that the core North alone can produce the next Nigerian president is Dr. Hakeem Baba-Ahmed. This is despite the fact that the massive votes garnered by retired Major General Muhammadu Buhari from the region in the 2003, 2007, and 2011 elections were insufficient to make him president. Baba-Ahmed is a retired permanent secretary and director of publicity and Advocacy, Northern Elders Forum. Welcome to the morning show, Dr. Baba-Ahmed, and good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for inviting me. Good morning.
Yes, Dr. Ahmed, you've been heavily vilified. Front page this day. Your utterances are reckless, careless. Southern Middle Belt Alliance tells Northern Elders Forum. Says One North assumption, delusional. Advises region to put purported numerical strength to productive use. Are you guilty as charged?
Of course not. The North is North. There are sections of the North, and we are people who can express our opinions. If some people feel that there are many Norths, there's no problem. When it comes to elections, we know that the North has consistently voted as one. We don't allow this kind of frivolous divisions and discussions about how plural North is divert our attention. The North is plural, and we know that sometimes it poses a problem. But when we speak now, we speak of one North. It has become a fashion for people to say which North, we're not North, or people from the South start pointing fingers and saying there are many Norths. Which one are you talking about? We are Northerners, and we know the North we're talking about. We know there is one North. And when it comes to elections, we show that. So we don't bother about people who are worried when we say North. They say which North. We know that's not a problem, and we're not guilty of anything. We speak for a region, 19 states of the Federation, a region defined politically and economically, a region defined by consistently the way it has shown direction. And people don't like that. They will try to criticize it in every way they can. It's not a problem. This is politics, and we understand it. But we're not guilty of anything.
Well, I want to raise a question that was posed by Chief E.K. Clark, not directly to you, but in response to your comments. And he said, who should be the second-class citizens, in reference to that comment that you made? And my question to you is that as you sit in Kaduna with a president from Katsina, do you feel superior to people from the South?
Look, nobody needs to be a second-class citizen, certainly not the Northerner. This country is not meant to have first and second-class citizen. That's the beauty of democracy. What we said is you cannot compel the North to yield to the southern part of the country a right that has been given by the Constitution, our right to choose and elect people that we want. That makes us, if you compel us to do that, that makes us a second-class citizen. This is the same right Southerners want. They want a Southern president. They want the North to vote for a Southern president. They want to vote for a Southern president. And we're saying, don't do that. We will not accept that if the only criteria by which you can define justice and equity and fairness is that a president must come from the southern part of the country, and you compel us one way or the other to create a southern presidency in spite of our own interests and the rights that we have to choose whether that is an option that is good for us or not, then you make us second-class citizens. Nobody is a second-class citizen, no Northerner, no Southerner. If people have reported what I said in terms of the South being second-class citizen, I'm providing the correction now because apparently the media has gone to town with the idea that the North is arrogant and condescending and is saying that it will not play second-class citizens. We don't want to be and will not be second-class citizens. And we don't want anybody from the South or from anywhere in this country to be second-class citizens. Allow the democratic process to decide who becomes president. If you compel any part of the country, to play second fiddle, they are second-class citizens. We don't think we should do that. We don't want to do that, and we don't want the South to do that. This is why we're insisting. Allow the democratic process to decide who becomes president. How you do that is a different thing, but at the bottom line is that people will make choices. And if Northerners choose to elect a Northern president, and in a free and fair election, and they vote for and northern candidate becomes president. That's the democratic process. People have to live with it. Now, people don't want us to speak like this, but what else do you want to say? Either you don't want the democratic process, or you want it. If you want it, you have to allow the basic elements of the democratic process to work. That's what we said.
Okay, sir. So, but in 2015, the North was very emphatic, because a lot of people have been saying this blue blood mentality of the North as regards Nigerian presidency is suspect here. The North was very emphatic, and the South alluded that, okay, yeah, it's their turn. And we gave it to them. And you saying this otherwise, yeah, I know it's game time. Some have said it's political posturing, but, is this not too far-reaching at a time where the country has a lot of challenges, to make statements like this? And secondly, let me even interrogate you on this numerical strength the North is always claiming. This numerical strength. How viable and strong is this? Can this numerical strength lead Nigeria alone? Can you get a northern candidate and the North votes for that candidate alone and it leads Nigeria? So your lawyer, section 133, right, talks about geographical spread. But you still need people in the South. What is it really? Because a lot of people don't get it.
Well, they should. First of all, there is no blue blood mentality in the North. In democracy, numbers are what is relevant. If people doubt the voting powers of the North, if people vote the populations of the North, they just need to go back to the last few elections and check. Now, it doesn't mean every Northerner votes for a Northern candidate. The pattern of elections consistently have shown millions of Northerners have voted for Southern candidates. Millions of Southerners have voted for Northern candidates. Millions. All the elections that happened. 2, Northerners have voted for Southern leadership. Obasanjo, 1979 and 1999. Jonathan became president largely because Northerners who were in the National Assembly decided that we need to do something serious when the late President Eradua was so sick that they were not sure that he was going to continue to be president. The doctrine of necessity was actually a mechanism that was contrived and pushed through by Northerners. We elected Jonathan. So there's nothing about the North that says that it has something against the Southern presidency. So we understand people who are desperate, the kind of people who say, if you want justice, if you want us to have peace in this country, you must bring the Southern presidency down. What we say is that is not the way to ask for a Southern presidency. You cannot threaten us with violence and intimidation and threats, and then you tell us that if you want peace, allow a Southern presidency. We understand this. We read the Constitution. We can read, We know what it takes to be a president. You have to score at least 25% in 24 states. There are no 24 states in the North, which means no Northerner can become a president unless he gets support from the southern part of the country. By the same token, no Southerner can become president unless he gets support from the North. We understand this. We can read. We know the requirements of this. And we are not ignorant. People think we just sit here and say we will not yield power. We know that there have to be circumstances and times when somebody from the southern part of the country becomes president, and we will live with it. But if he must be a president that will emerge through the political and electoral process, he must be a president that Northerners and Southerners both like and vote and put enough votes to make him or her president, and there must be a Nigerian president, not an ethnic president, not a regional president, not a religious president. We have learned a lesson from the North about this tendency to say only one of our own. We are in trouble today because one of our own has put us in serious trouble. And if the South doesn't believe that, then they just look around. The Southeast is locked down now by their own people. The Southwest is fighting like mad. They're fighting each other like mad. How do you want us to see? Chief Clerk is pointing fingers. If you are pointing fingers at the problems of the North, there are a lot of fingers, they can go in many directions. We can point out at the unbelievable corruption in the Niger Delta that has just been revealed recently. Trillions of naira has been sent down to the South. Where has that money gone to? There are many, many things we can do. We can point out at endemic criminality that is crippling the economy of the Southeast. So don't start this business of pointing accusing fingers. Leadership has failed Nigerians, not just Northerners, including Northern leadership. We are willing to accept that. What we are trying to do is to say, please let's keep going back. If this country becomes hostage of primordial and limiting past, we are in serious trouble, all of us. If we cannot move beyond ethnicity and religion and think of one country that will create citizens of equal rights, and those citizens will be allowed to choose a leader they want, that is the democratic process, then I'm afraid all we are going to do is to go in circles and keep repeating the same mistakes we are making. And those people who think that they understand the democratic process had better speak up. The worst thing you need in this country now is a president who will emerge after a very bitter quarrel, and the first thing you identify him with is that he's an Igbo president or he's a Yoruba president. That kind of person will not provide the kind of leadership this country needs. We need a leader who can be Nigerian. Yes, go ahead.
Well, Dr. Baba-Ahmed, we've been talking about the presidency in 2023 and your position, which has also been backed up by a coalition of northern groups, about 52 of them. Do you think this kind of rhetoric is helpful for national unity and for stability? And then beyond that, there were other issues raised by the southern governors when they met in Enugu, fiscal federalism, particularly as it relates to value-added tax and the need for equity and justice. There were also other issues about the anti-open grazing laws, that many of the states in the South are beginning to enact. Lagos State government, yesterday, Governor Sanwo-Olu signed the anti-open grazing bill into law. So what are your thoughts on all of this? Because, those southern governors, 17 of them, they operated along beyond politics, because they say, we represent our people, and this is what we want. And here you come and you say, you cannot intimidate us. How helpful is that?
Dr. Abati, forgive my language, but that is hypocrisy of the highest order. You criticize our language, but you say what the southern governors are doing is right. The southern governors use worse language than we do. Governors who are politicians, they have risen to those ranks playing politics. They know better than to be demanding and throwing threats and saying, we must have this, we must have that. When we speak in the language we spoke, people say, oh, it's condescending, it's arrogant, it is constituted. When southern governors drop their partisan garb, remove their APC outside the room, remove their PDP outside the room, gang up 17 of them or 19 of them, and come around and start demanding power must move here. We must do this. We must do this. And we respond by saying, you cannot use language like that, because we can also use that same kind of language. Now you turn around and say, Northerners are speaking in a language which is unbecoming. Why is it unbecoming? Why can't we remind Nigerians and the 17 southern governors that this is not the way to go if you really want to achieve this? What it does, this is really poor politics. This is lazy politics. What the kind of thing southern governors are doing is to get a lot of people from the northern part of the country to dig in. If you keep demanding things rather than negotiating and doing the basic stuff of politics, making concessions, convincing people, convince Northerners that it is in the interest of the North, in the interest of the South, and in the interest of Nigeria to have a president who comes from the southern part of the country. Then do the work. Do the work. But when you meet every few months and then you say, oh, number one, we must have the presidency back, or what? Or we must have, everybody must sign the open grazing laws. How do you think we react? You think these people have a monopoly of inflammatory rhetorics? They can speak in that sense, but we cannot say that the North is not for sale, that we have a right to demand that every Nigerian, irrespective of where he comes from, can contest for the presidency, and that threatens people. Or people say, okay, what have you done with your presidency? we can remind them what the Northern Presidency has done. We just need to go to the South and see a lot of the expenditure that has spent there. President Buhari once said only 5% of the Southeast voted for him. But go and look at the number of major projects in the eastern part of the country. We know this. Look at the state of the North now, under President Buhari. We know these things. So don't come with this business of your language is unbecoming. Talk to the Southern governors. Remind them, Excellencies, you swore with the Bible and the Quran to defend the integrity of Nigeria. You are leaders. Everything you say must be consistent with the interests of the country. Demanding and threatening and asking for impossible things is not responsible. And if they continue doing this, we will respond in a manner that reminds them we are not intimidated and we're not scared. We will do what is in the interest of the North and what is in the interest of Nigeria. If that is what offends people, then we have no apologies to offer.
Right. You've made references to threats and intimidation. Earlier in this conversation, you spoke of violence. Do you have any particular quote where violence was threatened or any kind of intimidation was threatened beyond a call, a consensus, what you call a gang-up in some other minds is a consensus about wanting a Southern president? That's my first question. And my second question is, you've said a lot about what people should not do and what people should not say. What would you rather have as an approach?
First, I didn't utter a single word about violence. The violence has not factored into this discussion.
You actually did.
Nobody is threatening violence in this issue. Well, I will let you get away with that. I cannot rewind what I've said. But the North hasn't been threatened by violence from the southern part of the country. They have made demands which they know shouldn't be made in the manner that they're asking for a Southern presidency. They are insisting on things they know need to be discussed and negotiated by other politicians. And so those things are meant to be threats. The only thing they don't do is to say, allow us to have a Southern presidency or ABC would happen. We haven't heard what those ABCs are. But as far as we're concerned, a president is produced through the electoral process. And that electoral process must allow expression of interests. It must allow full-blooded participation of politicians and voters. And that is what we're looking for forward to in 2023. If politicians get together and decide on their own to vote to get all parties, and I think that is improbable, all parties must field only a Southerner. You are dictating this to political parties that have rights to choose who their candidates are. And you are saying no party should field a candidate. Please tell me if that doesn't sound like a threat. If this doesn't happen, what happens? People like Chief Adebanjo and sometimes Chief Clark, they say things like, if you don't do this, there will be no elections in 2023. If you don't do this, there will be no elections in 2023. They have no control over what happens in 2023. And these kind of things are the kind of things that tenses up the country. I can't remember what your second question is. Do you want to
My
repeat
second
it,
question
please?
was, you've said a lot about what people shouldn't do or say. I was asking what approach you would prefer. And I'm going to add another question. Under what circumstances might you be persuaded to vote for a Southern candidate? But sir, we've got to take a break now, and we'll come back and we'll take your answer to that question. Please stay with us. Welcome back to the morning show here on Arise News. We're still with Dr. Hakeem Baba-Ahmed. Sir, before the break, I was asking you what approach you'd prefer to be taken, and under what circumstances you would vote for a Southern candidate.
Well, one of the key part of the approaches that is wrong is speaking from both sides of the mouth, which Southern governors are doing. And some groups, organized groups in the South are doing. Look, even as we speak, the same Southern governors who are saying you must do this, you must do that. These guys are busy negotiating and jockeying for positions for 2023. They know all the options that are available. And they're actively involved in this. They discussed with fellow politicians, including politicians from the northern part of the country, including their colleagues. They are maneuvering in APC and PDP who will become a candidate and who will not be a candidate. Who will produce that? Then they come out here and create a bipartisan fallacy and start throwing, making demands that they know are inconsistent with the democratic process. So that should stop, because it's not helping. It's not helping them. It's not helping the country. The best way to do this is, they are politicians. They know how politics are done. They have people that they work. They have political parties. They have fellow governors. They have other very powerful people. The best way to do this is to sit down with each other and say, look, we've done this before. We have rotated power, 2007. We have had a number of major developments that have reinforced the democratic process. Please recognize the fact that it is important for inclusiveness, for justice, for fairness, or whatever, that the presidency moves to somewhere in the south, and let them sort it out. Should it go to the southwest? Should it go to the southeast? Should it go to the south-south? Because we have a say in this. We are not just we are not going to be rendered into observers and voters on the election day. Those basic things that are basic to politics, discussions, negotiations, concessions, those things are not being done. They do that in private. They talk to each other. Governors, southern governors talk to northern governors. They talk in their parties. They are very powerful people. And then they come out and they have a press conference and they start saying, we must do this, you must do this, you must do this. There's no must in the democratic process. Now you ask me, under what circumstances? There are no special circumstances under which a southern president should emerge or a northern president should emerge. What we say is, allow the democratic process to decide who becomes president. Please, in the name of God, pick good people. Pick somebody who will do a lot better than President Buhari has done. He should be a Nigerian first. He should have an unquestionable commitment to Nigeria. He should be competent. He should recognize the fact that there are various regions with various challenges, and he should commit to that. If he is a southerner and somebody can convince us that that person from the south is the best out of all the candidates, including, incidentally, northern candidates that will emerge from other parties, that there is somebody from the southern part of the country who is better than anybody else, I assure you, northerners will vote for them. We voted for Abiola against a person from Kano State. And we voted for Jonathan against Buhari. This is not the first time northerners have voted for a southerner, and it can be done. But it should be done in a manner that does not suggest that the candidate is the product of threats and intimidation. Okay. That is the wrong way of doing it. So the answer to your question is, there are options, there are alternatives, they should begin to be put on the table. But this talking from both sides of the mouth is dangerous.
I've been able to get from your slant, Dr. Hakeem Baba-Ahmed, is that the North is ready to do a deal, but you don't want this rhetoric. You know, you want to be persuaded. You want to be made to see the reasons. Even if the arguments of the South now is, yes, you should see the reasons already, because we saw the reasons in 2015, you know, to allow President Buhari in. But you say, okay, let's be persuasive and all of that. So great. Let's play a little politics on television now. You've highlighted, you know, the conditions necessary for all of this. Can we start to look forward towards 2023? And I'm happy you've talked about the fact that the North is ready to play ball. What would be those concessions? You know, what should be the issues for 2023? What would be the deal breaker? Insecurity is one. The North, there's a problem of insecurity. There's a problem of poverty in the North. So what would be those issues for you?
And all over the country. First, let me correct you. The issue of insecurity is a national issue. In the North, you have a insurgency, you have banditry, you have kidnapping. In the Southeast, you have a group that literally has paralyzed the entire Southeast, IPOP. In the Southwest, there are other crimes. So don't just limit the issue of insecurity to the North. So security should be number one. Whoever wants to be a president of this country had better convince every part of this country that the number one item on the agenda when they become president is that they will resecure Nigeria. That's the first one. They need to rebuild the economy. There's been so much damage to the Nigerian economy all over the place. We feel this in the North more than anywhere else. But they must commit to rebuilding the Nigerian economy. The third one is that they must commit to rebuilding trust and confidence between in the groups that make up Nigeria. We need to go through a very thorough and genuine review of the nature of our federal system and our constitution. These three things are vital for the survival of this country. But we need to get there intact as one country. We need to get there without these terrible quarrels that are diverting attention from the need to create a leadership that is committed to rebuilding Nigeria, creating a future for it. And those people can come from anywhere. There are good people from all parts of the country. If we have a Southern president today, I have no doubt that he or she will go out of their way to find good, competent Nigerians from all over the country that they can work with. If he happens to be a Northern president, he had better be aware of the fact that the idea that a Northern president has succeeded Buhari would have created a lot of unhappiness and resentment in parts of the country, and he or she will go out of their way to create a process that gives everybody some level of feeling that they are Nigerians. They may not have one of their own as president, but that presidency must be run in a manner that does not suggest that because he is a Northern, only Northerners will get the benefits of being president. Our concern is that we are ethnicizing and regionalizing a national office. And if you elect an Igbo president today, we want to be sure that he's not going to come to the villa and be an Igbo president. He's going to be a Nigerian who happens to be Igbo, but who is entirely and completely committed to Nigeria. If he's a Yoruba president, we don't want him to be a Yoruba president. He has to be a Nigerian president. And if he comes from the South, the same thing. If he's a Northerner, he must be a president who only comes from the North. That's what we want. We want a Nigerian to emerge as a leader. He shouldn't have all these liabilities of his identity, his ethnicity, his region, his religion. Those things are serious hindrances to the process to build a nation of citizens and to give everybody a feeling that they are living in a country that really cares for them. And they can find an identity in the kind of people who lead them. That's what we're looking for. And what is dangerous about all this business of take it to the South, you must bring it here, you must bring it here, is that you could end up producing a president who is, first of all, before he comes to power, the subject of terrible quarrels. Two, that the person would have been produced by an ethnic or a regional coalition that would say to him, now it's our turn. Now that you are here, we want to see you run an administration that is only consistent with our own interests. That is very dangerous for Nigeria. The nation needs a leader that will actually do the things that President Buhari hasn't done. Create inclusiveness, address issues of resentments and frustrations in other parts of the country and in the North, and speak and act for everybody. That's what we are looking for. And when we say things like, why are you keeping the North out of this? It is simply because we believe that keeping millions and millions and millions of people and saying, sorry, nobody from your side should even attempt to be president, cripples the democratic process. He doesn't have to be the president, but you cannot tell all political parties, we are Southerners, we don't want all these political parties to produce a candidate from the North. That's not on the cards. It won't happen. And even if you do, what about the voter? The voter will decide what he wants to do. Can you compel Northerners to vote for a Southern presidency all around? If 10 parties field candidates from the South, 5 parties field candidates from the North, the Northern voter could exercise his right to vote for a Northerner. There will be people in the southern part of the country who also vote for him. If he gets the requirement to be president, he will be president. So what will happen? By the same token, we can have a southern president. We can live under a southern president. We have lived under southern presidents. We are Nigerians. We recognize the fact that Nigeria is made up of sections and ethnic groups and interests. We recognize that. We are Northerners. Pluralism is in our DNA. We accept that. We live with it. So it's not a strange thing. What the point, let me repeat again, don't make the issue of presidency a matter over which Nigerians will fight and threaten the country and threaten the democratic process. That is very dangerous for this country.
But Dr. Baba-Ahmed, I guess the reason why you are facing this pushback that is out there now is because you were talking about the numerical strength of the North, which many Southerners consider a myth, because Nigeria has not really, been able to conduct a successful census. Many people doubt the census figures. But do you think it's really possible for a candidate from the North to be Nigerian president without votes from the South? Or vice versa, is it possible for a Southern candidate to be president of Nigeria without votes from the North? And then let me ask you this, beyond the ethnic politics that we've been discussing. If you were to just switch positions and say, okay, maybe perhaps they have an argument. Maybe the next president should come from the South for purposes of equity and whatever, as praised. Who would be some of your, favorite candidates or recommendations from the southern part of Nigeria? Because you know everybody anyway. You've been in government, you've been in politics.
You would make a good president, Ruben. You will make a good president. So if you want, I will mention you first.
And I will run
the point is people. I believe that many people don't know what you have. I would be happy to live under your presidency. You ask that people in the South question all these numbers. We have the right to ask the same questions. Conduct a census. If you can't conduct a census, then go back to voting figures. If you can't do that, you're too lazy to go back and find out how many people from the North registered and voted, how many people from the South registered and voted, then look at the pattern of elections. It's there on the ground. We are not just saying, people say, oh, your population is fiction, you don't have people, you have Almajiris, you import people from Chad and Cameroon and Niger. We have had that over and over again, going back to colonial times. We are used to that. These kind of things don't bother us. But to come to the question you raised, a president can emerge, should emerge, ideally, that has no liabilities in terms of who he represents other than Nigerians. That's what we're looking for. There are people, there are very good people. I am part of groups and organizations that have excellent Nigerians with very deep commitments to Nigeria. And there are people, I believe, who can lead this country away from the serious problems that we're confronting, we're dealing with, and they can begin the process of national reconstruction. But the politicians are not giving it a chance. PDP just wants to take the place of APC. APC wants to stay in power at all costs. These two parties, I'm afraid, unless they go through some kind of transformation and become saints overnight, I don't think they hold the answers to what Nigeria needs. I don't know where the answers are, but I would like to see a Nigerian who is detribalized, who is not the product of a region or an expression, who is not the product of a frustration or resentment. I would like to see a Nigerian who feels comfortable in Gombe and in Osun and in Ebonyi. I would like to see a Nigerian who would inspire change. I would like to see a Nigerian that can tell the Nigerian youth there's a future for you. And I would like to see a Nigerian who is not corrupt, who will not tolerate nepotism, who will not run an administration based purely on the way he thinks things should be done. I would like to see a Nigerian who will build institutions or rebuild institutions. I'd like to see a Nigerian who will recognize the fact that the problems in Borno, the insurgency, is a problem of everybody and not just the problem of Borno. I would like to see a Nigerian who will fight IPOB and eliminate it. I would like to see a Nigerian who would prosecute people like Sunday Igboho if they have been found guilty of an offense. I would like to see a Nigerian who will fight bandits and kidnappers to the end and eliminate them. I would like to see a Nigerian who has a vision of what this country will look like in 25 years. They exist, they are there. The problem is the political process keeps them out. You need billions and billions of naira to become a successful politician. Those people don't have that kind of money. So you need to amend, you need to address the political process. You need to amend the electoral process as well. The president, we have made the case many times, there is an amendment to the Constitution, it's a whole battery of amendments. One of them is for electronic voting. Allow that. You remove a large substance of rigging in it. 2, introduce direct primaries. Eliminate all these parasites that exist in the process, delegates. This is where rich people go and buy off a handful of Nigerians and they become candidates. And nothing has prepared them to lead this country. Nothing, absolutely nothing. And you can see that now. You have governors that don't have any idea about governance. You have a president who is sitting there thinking Nigerians should be grateful that he's president, but that's enough. He doesn't need to do anything beyond that. This country is in serious trouble. What it needs is a leadership that has vision, a leadership that recognizes the fact that he is leading a country of 220, 330 million people. Every one of them feels threatened by the other one, and we are worried that we may not have a future. That's the kind of president I have. And they exist. They are there. Whether they have a chance to step forward and assume responsibility for this country or not depends so much on what the current leadership does in terms of tinkering with the political process, tinkering with the Electoral Act, and then the smaller parties should go out and meet Nigerians and make the case to be given a chance. They should be given a chance because the 2 major parties have let this country down.
Doctor, do you feel that Nigeria is in an existential crisis? What I'm referring to is the secessionist threats from the Southeast and the Southwest. And do you feel that a Southern president will go some way towards assuaging the umbrage that some feel?
Well, regarding whether Nigeria is under existential threat, yes, we are. We have never been in this kind of situation. We are in very, very serious trouble, which is the reason why we should think outside the box. We must have leadership that is radically different from the kind of leadership we have. Regarding secession, people ask this question. If you have a Southern president, IPOB will disappear, the Igbos will disappear, everybody will hug everybody, and then they will say, hallelujah. I'm afraid we don't buy that. There are people who just don't want to be part of Nigeria. Even if they have a Southern president, they will come back and say, we want out. And those people, there's nothing you can do about them. So I don't see an end to all these secessionist tendencies simply because someone has emerged from the southern part of the country. I would like to remind you, when we say the southern part of the country, you can have a Yoruba president and you can still have massive problems in the southeast because the Igbo will still say, oh, we are marginalized. We are still marginalized. We have 5 states. We have never had a president from the southern part of the country, from our party, and therefore we will continue. IPOB does not just exist in a vacuum. IPOB represents a large part of mainstream Igbo politics. So you need a president who can find a way around this, deal with the frustrations that create some of these irredentist movements, deal with grievances that keep feeding these tendencies by opportunists who feel the only solution is to leave this country. So you can deal with them, but you need good leaders. You need leaders that will deliberately create an inclusive administration and go out of their way to go and see what is it about IPOB that makes it so appealing to some people? What is it about IPOB that gives it the power to literally cripple the southeastern states? And how do you deal with it? You can't just beg it to go away. You have to deal with it. If you have to fight it, fight it. If you have to fight secessionist tendencies that manifest in violence and intimidation in the southwest, deal with it. If banditry and kidnapping have become such scourge in the north, deal with it. We need a president who will be strong and firm, but also be aware of the fact that he has to fight while he's leading a country that needs to go through recovery. That is absolutely vital. And a president who recognizes the fact that he needs to recreate a Nigeria, he must allow bridges to be built. We need to talk to each other, not the way Chief Clark just spoke, just before, at the beginning of this program. With due respect, it's not an African culture, but we have too many elderly people speaking. Maybe you can include me there. I'm only their son, but you can include me. Too many people, Chief Clark, Chief Adebanjo, they speak in a language that elders should not speak. They have no business leading groups. These are people who create more problems for politicians, and politicians become hostage and prisoners of rhetorics that people have.
Okay. Dr. Baba-Ahmed, real quickly, for all of this to work, a lot of people have argued the case for restructuring. And this VAT palaver that has just started, is that restructuring, fiscal restructuring in the right direction? What's your take on the VAT conversation?
I would advise that we wait to hear what the Supreme Court says. However, even the fact that it has risen to a point where it has become an issue suggests to you that we really do need to address fundamentals about the manner in which the Federation works. We have always supported restructuring. We have always asked that a major and genuine shift and initiative should be undertaken either by groups themselves or by government and the groups of the National Assembly, so that matters like this should be addressed and addressed properly. If you don't do that now, then please get a leadership that will commit to do that after 2023. This administration does not appear to appreciate the importance of restructuring. We do in the North. We recognize the fact that we need to change the manner in which we both generate wealth and we share wealth. We recognize that. And the thing about it is the North wants restructuring, the North wants fiscal federalism. We are a rich region and we can live on what we have. Even if we don't have the billions that accrue to other states, our poverty is not the kind of problem that we will break this country over. We don't have a problem with that. So I would rather leave the VAT issue to do, but it's a wake-up call. Northern governors and northern leaders need to recognize the fact
problem with
that
it,
VAT or no VAT.
Northern governors have a problem with it. So when you say the North doesn't have a problem with it, I show that because Northern governors have a problem with it, and they're saying, no, no, no. That's what they're saying.
Yes, I heard them. The Northern governors are not the only people who speak for the North. I'm saying that leave the court to decide. Then we will pick up from there. In the meantime, whether they support what Rivers and Lagos states are doing or not, they need to develop their own resources. They need to develop the human capital. A genuine case is always made. North, you said you are many people, but you are underdeveloping your own people, and they are right. The biggest liability of the North is that we have a huge population that is underdeveloped. You need to develop the human capital that you have. And we need leaders, we need new governors. The current level of governors don't recognize this. Otherwise, they wouldn't be involved in this argument. Allow the courts to decide, can states collect and retain VAT, or is it a federal government responsibility? But for goodness sake, begin to think, what else can we do? What if the courts decide now that Rivers State is right, Lagos State is right, and they won't be getting all these billions coming in from VAT? What happens? You know, you would think that northern governors at this stage would be up in, they won't be sleeping, they will be turning in their beds thinking, what's going to happen? And they're sitting on wealth. We have massive resources in this country. We have to fight security first, and the federal government has to help us. We need to clear the bushes, we need to clear the forests, we need to clear all these criminals that are here, and then we need to go back to farming. Agriculture is a major asset. We have land, we have water, we have livestock, we have minerals that are literally begging to be picked from the ground. But our governors are too focused on just the pittance that they are getting. Well, this is wrong.
So, Baba-Ahmed, just before we go, I recall that in 2014, 2015, and even thereafter, you were one of the major strategies in the SaMBA movement. And President Buhari has been there now for about 6 years. Do you feel disappointed, considering the state of the nation today? Briefly, we just have about 2 minutes to go.
Well, absolutely. I mean, is there any Nigerian who is not disappointed in President Buhari, including die-hard APC people? Is there anybody who will not tell you they wish President Buhari had done much better? We raised huge expectations. We told people, get rid of Jonathan, put Buhari there, he will fix corruption, he will fix insecurity, he will fix the economy. Look at where we are now. How can anybody say they are happy with the record of President Buhari? Even the people very close to him will tell you that they wish he had done much better, and he could have done much better, and he hasn't. So what we need to do now is to get ready to elect another president who will go in the opposite direction. A president who has a vision and a clear idea about what governance involves, rather than just being president. So I am disappointed. And that's why today I'm actively involved in trying to see that a new leadership emerges that will give Nigeria a new lease of life.
Well, thank you very much, Dr. Hakeem Baba-Ahmed, for joining us on the morning show. Thank you very much indeed.